Bob Joyce. There is a moment, somewhere in the middle of a Sunday morning in a small Arkansas town, when everything goes still. Not the polite stillness of a crowd waiting for a speaker to clear their throat. Something deeper than that. A room full of people. Some who drove through the night, and some who flew across an ocean. Holding their collective breath, as a man in a plain suit settles himself behind a piano and begins to play. And then he sings. And the air in the room changes. That voice. Low, warm, and rich in a way that seems to come from somewhere far older than the man himself. Smooth as worn leather, and carrying within it something that feels, to certain ears, achingly familiar. For the regular churchgoers of Benton, Arkansas, this is simply Brother Bob doing what he has always done. For the strangers packed into the wooden pews beside them, the ones who drove from Ohio or Texas, or stepped off a transatlantic flight, with nothing but a printed map and a burning question, that voice is something else entirely. It is either a remarkable coincidence or the most extraordinary secret in the history of American popular music. The question that has followed Bob Joyce for years is one that he has answered, clearly and patiently, many times over. He is not Elvis Presley. He has said so directly, in front of his congregation, to cameras, and to the internet. He has pointed out that the math alone makes the theory impossible, since Elvis would now be well into his 90s. And yet, despite all of that, the crowds keep coming. The parking lot on Samples Road keeps filling up with license plates from states and countries far beyond Arkansas. 'Cause for a certain group of people, the resemblance, whether in voice or in manner or in spirit, is simply too striking to walk away from without at least asking the question. To understand why this story has captured so many people, you have to go back to the afternoon of August 16, 1977. That was the day the world learned that Elvis Presley had died at his Graceland estate in Memphis, at just 42 years old. The grief that followed was immediate and overwhelming. Fans lined the streets outside Graceland for days. Radio stations played nothing but his records. Grown men and women wept openly in public for a man most of them had never met in person. It was the kind of loss that entire generations feel simultaneously, the kind that leaves a mark that never fully heals. But grief is a complicated thing, and for millions of fans, it came mixed almost immediately with doubt. The official story, as they absorbed it, seemed to leave loose threads that some people simply could not stop pulling on. It has been widely claimed among those who follow Elvis conspiracy theories that the casket appeared unusually heavy. Others have pointed to a reported discrepancy in the spelling of his middle name on the memorial. There were accounts, largely unverified, of unusual activity around the estate in the hours surrounding the announcement. None of these details were ever substantiated into anything conclusive, but together, they seeded a persistent suspicion in a community of fans who were not ready to let go. The theory that emerged from that doubt was, at its core, deeply human. It suggested that Elvis had not died, but had simply escaped. That a man crushed under the weight of unmanageable fame, surrounded by a chaotic entourage, and struggling with a serious dependency on prescription medication, had found a way out. Not death, but disappearance. The idea was that he had walked away from the golden cage of superstardom to find something quieter, something real. A life where he could exist without the costumes, the handlers, the screaming crowds, and the relentless machinery of celebrity that had consumed him almost entirely. For decades, this remained a quiet subculture. Books were written about it. Tabloids ran stories about Elvis sightings in grocery stores and small towns. The idea never went fully mainstream, but it never fully died either, because for a certain kind of devoted fan, the alternative, that he was simply gone, was too painful to accept completely. Then the internet arrived, and with it came video. Clips of a pastor preaching in Benton, Arkansas, began circulating online, quietly at first, then with increasing momentum. And the comments sections beneath those videos lit up with a very specific kind of excitement. Here was a man who was not doing an impression. He was not wearing rhinestones or shaking his hips, or doing anything that suggested he was trying to evoke a memory. He was simply standing at a pulpit, talking to his congregation, and occasionally sitting down at a piano to lead them in worship. And yet, for people who had spent years studying Elvis Presley, something about him was profoundly